Okay, I hit go. And I didn't even have time to open my book here. Oh my gosh. Welcome everybody. Welcome to Silverline Silver Sunday on this Sunday, September the 28th. I am your host. I am Roland. And I am excited to be here. Welcome to Roku. If you're watching us on Roku, we're so excited that you now get to watch us. Unfortunately, if you're watching us on Roku, you don't get to interact with us. So if you're on Roku, you probably also got YouTube. Jump over to the tube of views and look up Silverline Comics and follow us. And then you can leave all your comments for us there and we can interact with you there. But we're going to have a fun night tonight. Before I get too far, I got to drop a teaser. Next week, we're going to have a special guest, and I'm not going to tell you who it is until the end of the show. So you got to hang out with us all show to find out who exciting is going to be with us next week.
And then like and subscribe.
That's right. Yes. Like and subscribe. And of course, that reminds me, I am joined by the man who's in between the panels right now, Mr. Tom Mason.
Hi, everybody. I know who the secret guest is, and I'm not telling.
That's right. And we are also joined by that man in the mask guy, Mr. Mike W. Belcher himself.
My lips are sealed also. You won't get that info out of me.
You guys know all the secrets. That's what it is. We have a campaign going right now. I'm trying to get to it as our intros are so short now. I don't have time to do all the stuff I normally did in our 3-minute intros.
I'd like to complain to the manager of Silverline.
What we can do is we can get Tommy juggling and just make a whole intro for that, and then they'll give us enough time to be prepared.
Does he juggle?
I don't know. He can learn.
If he doesn't, it's better.
Yeah.
He also said that he was going to twerk, and he never did that.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I don't need. I've seen it. I've seen enough man twerking in my life, and I'm done.
Okay, here we go. All right, so our campaign is. Well, what happened? I clicked. Oh, it's just taking a minute to. It's taking a minute to load.
That's you have used the internet before, right?
I have used the internet before. Let me see if I can't share it. Share screen. Window, Cape Town, share. There it is. So we are 75% of the goal here. We've got 2 days to go. This thing ends on Tuesday. This is Cape Town number 2. For those of you who wonder, yes, you can get number 1 with this. And here are the covers. I've got a sweet this version to show you here. But you can get, of course, the foil cover that is only available for this campaign. Or you can get cover B, which is done by Rob Davis, inked by our very own Thomas Formonti and colored by Mickey Clausen. Or you can get cover C, which is done by penciler Javier Lugo, inked by Jose Fuentes, and colored by Mickey. Let's see. I think there's still some original art available. Let's see what's available here.
Those are nice pieces.
Yes, those are very, yeah. Oh, also, if you're like, hey, I'm going to back Cape Town, but I missed Obsoletes number 1. You know what? You can get Obsoletes number 1 as an add-on to this as well. Let's see. Oh, that one's gone. That one's gone. So you can still get Tommy's inks on Cape Town 2 cover.
That's a nice one.
It is a nice one. Oh, and you can still get the pencils too from Rob Davis. So those are the only 2 original pieces left. Just the Rob Davis pencils. What if I click on that? Will it? It has to open a new tab.
And those are actual boards that you can frame. Those are not digital. Those are actual real old-fashioned on the comic art board.
100%. So there's Rob's pencils. Look, it even has the X's here for the blacks.
Yep.
I love
It's nice.
those.
At least he put in the crackle.
That's right, he did. Yeah, and then there's this one. This is Tommy's inks. So over that same original art. And as Tom said, both of these are original pieces. You can frame them. You can put them on your wall.
You can leave them to your heirs when you pass away.
That's right. So let's go. Mike lettered it. How did I leave out Mike? Mike, why didn't you say something? Mike lettered it. So get on over there. Support this campaign. Like I said, we are 75% of the way there. And we've got 2 days to go. So there's all kinds of there's digital. You can just get one issue, right? Digital. Where's it at? There's the digital here. Oh, that's the add-on. Sorry. There's the digital. If you're like, hey, I just want the digital, there it is. You can get it. So jump on over there, back that campaign. We've got 2 days left on that. Yeah. Oh, that's right. This is what I can show you. This is the our proof copy. Is this one of those? Yeah. Tommy always. This is just a proof copy of the cover, right? The interiors are not ours, so Tommy always leaves us a little something special on the front page there. But this is it. This is the foil that you can get. It's only available via this crowdfunder. So get over there and get this for yourself. Look at that. We've already got some comments here. Matt Likes Comics says, hey, everybody. What's up, Matt? Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. I like that. Pop says, hey, yo, what's up, Pops? Mattis Entertainment Group. Matt Like Comics says, watch him juggle 3 deadlines. Hey,
He'll do it, too.
Yes, Tommy's good.
Yeah, he's good at that. And Grey Wolf says, hey, chat. What's up, Grey Wolf? Thanks for hanging out with us. Any other news? Mike, Tom, y'all have any news to talk about?
No, I ate a bug earlier today.
I hate when that happens.
I hear they're full of protein.
Yeah.
Well, in the future, they're called steak.
That's right.
Because steak is like $400 a pound now. But
yeah, it depends on whether you want them cooked or raw, right?
Yeah, well, I had mine sashimi style. Apparently, you just flew right in. That's why I don't like to go out and do yard work.
Y'all have yards in Canada?
Well, for a couple months a year, and then it's just a snowbank.
All right, so tonight, since you guys don't have any news, and I don't have any news other than the campaign, tonight we're going to talk about what happens in between the panels, right? The panels, that's what we see on the comic page where you read the stuff. And if you're in the comic book industry, you have to know this book, right? You have to. I remember, Tom, I've told the story. I may be telling it wrong, but I remember Malibu bought me my first copy of this book.
I'm sure we did, because it's essential, because people in general, people make comics based on what they've read, and don't necessarily understand why things are the way they are. And comics has all these traditions and a certain language that's both visual and verbal, and styles of storytelling or whatever. And what Scott did is he put it all together.
Yeah.
So it was no longer like a tradition passed down from the elders. And so and he put it in such a way that you don't have to copy it. You don't have to do it word for word, but it helps you know things. It helps you understand things. So if you get stuck, or if you don't know what you're doing, or you have, in the old days before the internet, you'd have to know somebody. You'd have to call them on the phone or send them a letter or whatever. And so the book becomes super valuable if you're trying to make comics.
Yeah. Yeah. But I remember, I don't want to say, Tom, it was you that gave it to me. I'm not certain about that. But I do remember being given the first copy of this book when I was at Malibu, and I use it as a textbook now in my class. And one of the things I tell them is that, this is not if you're looking for a how-to book, we sound like an infomercial for Scott McCloud's book now, don't we? if you're looking for a how-to book, this is not it, right? This is not going to tell you how to make the copy.
No.
This is going to tell you how to understand it. And one of the things I love about this is it talks about what the art does to your brain, right? It's like how we look at it, how we interpret it, how the different styles of art even work. And so I really like that. Now, what we're going to talk about tonight, one of the things that McCloud has, he has these different transitions, right? There's 6 different kinds of transitions from panel to panel, right? And of course, you've got a moment to moment, an action to action, a subject to subject, scene to scene, aspect to aspect, and non sequitur. There will be a test at the end of the show, by the way, y'all. But one of the things we're going to talk about is that, the reason I'm showing this matters when we're talking about what happens in between the panels, because this is one of the things that I love about comics is that you can take 2 panels and there can be a split second or there can be 10 bazillion years in between the 2 panels.
Yes.
That's comics. That's what I love about comics. And so I want to talk about what happens in between the panels. First thing I'm going to ask you guys, Mike and Tom, when you're writing, when you're composing your work, and you're thinking about the image that's going to be on the page, how are you thinking about what the reader is going to understand between panel to panel? Any thoughts on that? I think
visually. I mean, the way I do it, because again, where I'm drawing my own, words, so to speak, I think visually. I'm always on, when I put the page up, the blank page up to work on it, I'm thinking about, what actions need to be on this page, what needs to be, because the great thing about, like you're talking about between panels is that we can slow things down so much. You could do it almost a moment by moment panel, little small panels. I mean, Watchmen is a great example of slowing down the time to get you the impact that you're looking for.
Yes.
But sometimes you want that pow zap moment where you're going, the guy's throwing getting ready to throw the punch. And then the next panel is the bad guy's going out the window. You still understand it because the way our brains are, we fill in the blanks because again, the way we read things. So when I'm working on something, I think about that visually. I think about what moments need to be in there. And I try to whittle it down to the essentials. And then I also think about visually what's going to catch the eye.
Yeah, because I think to build on Mike's example, I try to think, well, who am I working with who's going to draw this? What do they like to draw? And what are their strengths? Like, what are they?
Yeah.
And how can because it isn't so much about my stupid words, because I know a lot of writers are like, oh, my words are so precious and I got to have a lot of words. I got to over-explain the plot. And it's like, I know you don't. And so if you have 2 panels and you have a guy, if you have your villain is in, a room or whatever, and you have your hero standing in the doorway, you could easily cut to the next panel. And like Mike said, have the villain fly out the broken window.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We all know what just happened.
Yes.
And if you need dialogue, you can sprinkle the dialogue or captions or thought balloons into across those 2 panels, but don't use those words to explain he punched the guy who flew out the window.
Right.
Use those words to explain the story and move the story forward so that the art is moving the story forward. The hero punched the villain out the window, and now the words are telling a different part of that same story and pushing it forward.
Yeah.
We don't need to see that middle panel where the hero ran towards the villain and the hero cocked his fist back and the hero punched the guy.
Yeah.
You don't need all that. That's what happened in the gutters.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we've made it, and movies and TV do this too.
Yes. They
don't always show the every single movement.
By the way, Tom just used a term for those of you who might not know. This space in between the panels, that's called gutters.
It is the gutters.
So that's the gutters. So when you hear that, that's what Tom meant. Yeah. I'm trying to find Frank Miller wrote an introduction in one of the Bone collections that I'm trying to find right now so I can give an exact quote. But The internet is failing me right now.
But Miller used to do that thing too. He would always make these triptychs in Daredevil, where it'd be Daredevil would be swinging across the city, and you'd see Daredevil from like the chest up, then you'd see Daredevil's middle, and then you'd see Daredevil's feet, sort of making like a swervy U or whatever. And then there'd be 3 little visual actions down below, one in each panel as he's swinging past. And it's brilliant because he's moving the story forward verbally, and he's also moving the story forward visually, and the two don't repeat each other; they complement.
Yeah,
I mean, to really study Action Comics, you should take a look at what Miller did on Daredevil, especially.
Good stuff. You know, I can't find it right now, so I'm going to have to kind of summarize it. I think I probably have the issue of Bone. So Frank Miller wrote an introduction in one of the Bone compilations. This probably would have had to have been in late 90s, early 2000s when the compilations were done. And one of the things that he said in there was talking about, I mean, he praised Jeff Smith, but one of the things that he mentioned is that he was talking about rookie writers and artists, or amateur writers and artists, and he said that one of the things that artists do is they have a tendency to draw every single minute little detail that you don't need to see. Kind of what you were talking about, Tom. It's like we don't need to see all those minute little details, right?
Yeah.
And then he also goes on to say that amateur writers, on the other hand, have a tendency to just pile on words, right? Just too many words. And he goes, so many of those words are things that you can see clearly on the panel, and you don't need them.
Yes.
But one of the things I like that he added, and this is one of the things I was going to try to get to, one of the things that he added was that you have to find a way to slow the reader down. And this is what I try to tell my students in the class. We're veering a little bit from the exact topic, but when he talked about slowing the reader down, is what I try to tell my students. When you've got panel after panel after panel of no dialogue, this is how we read the book, right? We read it like this.
Right.
Because we're just looking at pictures at that point in time. And of course, they're like, well, well, the picture is going to tell the story. I'm like, I understand what you're saying. I can see those pictures and I can flip through them, but we haven't slowed the reader down. And I remember Pete one time, our very own Peter Clinton, said something to me one time. He says, yeah, I want you to put some words on there. And I said, so why is that? He goes, because I want them to look at my art. He goes, I spent a long time drawing that. Yeah. And he goes, if there aren't any words there to slow them down, which is what the words do, the words slow them down. He goes, they're going to zip right past it. He goes, I spent a lot of time drawing that. It's just, don't cover it up, but put some text on there to slow them down. And I think that's important because what Miller was talking about, the amateur artist doing, is that every single minute action, we understand. If you could probably delete, if you've got, let's say, I don't know, 4 textless panels, you can probably delete 3 of them, right? Because if you got 3 back to back to back that have no text in it, then your reader's just going to go zip, 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 zip right through it. Yep. So delete 3 of them, we can understand what happens, right?
And you can see it. You can see it in movies and TV too, where like I was watching. I like to work with my iPad on, and it's usually something that I've seen before, so I don't really have to pay attention to it. It's just company.
Like on a video.
Yeah, and I was watching NCIS.
Yeah,
and the characters
Gibbs.
Yeah, Gibbs. And the characters were in Los Angeles, and Los Angeles is bright and sunny and whatever. And then they finish the case, and one of them says, "All right, time to go home." The next scene, they do a dissolve, and the next scene is them walking into their office in Washington, D.C. It's like, we don't have to see them go to the airport.
Right.
We don't have to see them get on the plane. We don't have to see them check their bag or whatever.
Right.
We don't need any of those details because, one, they're not important to the story.
Nope.
They clutter things up, and we want to get back to where the case is.
Right. Yeah.
And the same thing in comics. You want to stick to the story and not, unless it's your personal style, you don't need all those crazy little details.
Right.
And that's where you hide that stuff in the gutter without sort of realizing what you're doing.
Yeah. And there's something in film that I think is a great saying. It's oh, help me out here. I always have to think about it. It's in late, out early.
Yes.
In late. Yeah. In late, out early. And what this means is that when you go into a scene, right, you enter the scene late, right?
Yes.
We don't have to see them, as Tom said, we don't have to see them walking in the door or turning the lock, using the keys. We don't need to see all that. We just put them in. They're already in late, and then exit the scene early. Now, this is not talking about the characters. This is talking about us, the viewer, the reader, the consumer. We're in late and out early.
I love this example because it's from Dragnet. And one of the things they used to do before people understood that the audience understands how this works, with the Dragnet guys would be sitting in their office. They'd get a call from wherever. They got to go to interview a suspect at this crime scene or whatever. They would show them physically leaving their desk, getting their coats on, walking down the stairs, walking out the building, getting into their car, driving down the street, pulling up in front of the apartment house, getting out of the car, walking up to the steps of the apartment house, knocking on the door, and then the person answers. And it's like, now what they do is somebody just says, you know who we need to talk to, cut. And then it's them knocking on the door, and the door is open, and, there's Jerry or whoever they need to talk to.
Mr. James, we need to talk to you.
Takes like 2 seconds.
That's right.
Before it took like 10 minutes.
Yeah. And David is a Flash says, read Dragnet. You got an hour to fill.
Yeah, there's so many things wrong with Dragnet.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, the thing about it is you can actually, by cutting that sort of fluff, you can give the reader or the viewer, or you can give them more story. You can give them more meat to the story, because we don't have to see them driving around in the neighborhood and putting on coats. And I mean, unless there's unless there's something you're going to do specifically with that, I need to see putting on a coat, then you don't need it.
That's like, how many times do I, in the Batman TV show, how many times do I need to see Batman and Robin slide down the pole and rev the engine to the Batmobile and then watch it shoot out? It's like, okay, I get it. Let's move on.
Yeah. There is though kind of that the idea that you talking about that. I know that Shooter did a lot of this in the 19 I guess whenever he took charge, I guess 1980s, was that the idea that every comic is somebody's first comic.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's really important for those long ongoing series, right? If you've got a series that you're up around issue, I don't know, 70, 80, 100, something like that, then you have to assume that not everybody started with you back at issue number 1. So there are things that you have to tell them.
The problem with that is if you're at issue 350 of a comic book series, there's a lot to sort of bring the readers up to speed.
Yeah.
So how can you sort of boil that down without feeling the need to fill in 350 issues worth of stuff?
Yeah.
So it's a tough tightrope to walk, and sometimes I don't think Marvel does that very well.
Mm-mm.
And they sort of either oversimplify it or overcomplicate it. So by the time you're sitting there, and many times, like I forget who said it, but when they bought I think we had him on the show. When they bought comics, they jumped right in, and without knowing anything about the backstory, they read the comic, and there was enough interest from the comic they read, that they could go back and fill in some gaps if they were interested. They didn't need to know everything.
Right.
So the same thing, if I come across a movie on TV or whatever, and I'm in the middle of it, if I like what I'm seeing, I might watch it to the end and then go back and see it later on from the beginning. So I don't necessarily need to know everything when I pick up something new.
Right. Yeah. Well, I remember the Avengers used to have, I don't know if they still do, on that splash page, they had that little paragraph up at the top.
Right.
Excuse me. Earth's mightiest heroes gathered together, blah, blah, blah. I forget exactly what it says by now. Sorry. But there was that little paragraph up there that gave you sort of here's a little synopsis, here's a little nutshell about who these people are.
Right.
But I remember reading an early Avengers, when I didn't know who the characters were, but I was invested because, Captain America was on the cover, and yet he was in the hospital, and all these people were gathered around, concerned that Captain America might not survive.
Right.
I was invested, right? I'm like, who's that? Who's that? I don't know who these people are.
Yeah. I
right?
didn't need to know that he'd been frozen in time by the Red Skull and
yeah.
thawed out, and he fought in World War II or whatever. I didn't.
Nope.
I could find that information out if I really wanted to, but I didn't need to know it at that moment. And so sometimes I think this is always somebody's first comic doesn't actually work.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, well, and certainly I think you really have to kind of skirt around what exactly do they need to know.
Right.
And I also think timing, though. I think timing is important, right? I don't remember that. I don't remember the whole story of that particular comic I'm talking about, but let's say page 12 or 13, they're talking about Cap, right? Well, that's when they can drop that information in conversation, right? I can't believe he was frozen in ice all those years only to die on the operating table.
That's when you have the slower moments that
yeah. But see, that's a way that you can drop that information without going, Captain America was frozen in ice for 50 years or 20. I think it was 20 years back then, wasn't it? It's like for 20 years, and now he's been resurrected. It's like, no, I have one of the characters tell me that, because I'm going to go, what? He was frozen in ice? What?
Because also the thing is, now every comic is collected, and every comic is, and if every issue of the comic that you're reading is treated like the first issue of somebody's comic, if you're reading them all in a row, oh man, is that tedious.
So no, you're right. So I will tell you this, and I don't know how many people do this, but I don't know if I actually have it over here or not. So when I did Tiny, I don't have it over here. When I did Tiny, one of the things that we talked about is that we did it in two parts. When we crowdfunded in two parts, right? Issue 1, Issue 2. And Issue 2, on the first page, I had a couple of captions that said, basically, that it was for my first time reader, right? I assume that you didn't read the first issue, or it's been, which is what it was, like a year since you read number 1. Here's number 2, right? When we put the trade together, I removed all those captions,
right?
Because the reader didn't need that. I can't remember if I put something there in its stead, but I know I removed all of those because I was like, all they're doing literally in the trade is turning the page, right? They didn't have to wait a month. So they didn't need all those captions. This is one of the things I like about doing letters digitally, because it took 3 minutes to remove those captions and replace the file.
That's why I like, because the digital stuff makes that so much easier.
Yes.
And you can take it, and you can actually remake the comic book for the trade.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is very helpful. So Mike, what do you do? Because you have an ongoing series with the.
I just make it. I do kind of subscribe to every comic is somebody's first comic. I mean, you do have to you have to figure out inventive ways to kind of throw the reader kind of a refresher course. But I'm not so much wanting to bat over the heads. I mean, the idea that your character operates in a certain world, I think, tells a lot. I think that you don't have to use a lot of real estate in your book to get that across. I mean, that's kind of how I did the last issue I did. Was it'd been a couple of years since I had done the last issue, and so I wanted people to kind of remember, hey, this was what kind of was going on, but I wanted to do it in a way that was very instrumental to telling the story of the surroundings more so than what was going on in Tommy's life. Right. It was more like Tommy's surroundings. I wanted to show the world that he was living in to kind of refresh the reader. And so it was just, I made sure a good portion of the first part of the book was him conversating with the people that he lived around. And that kind of fills in the blank without being heavy in exposition.
Right.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I approach every book. I approach every book by saying, I'm just trying to remind you, this is just a regular guy who lives in a little section of town. He primarily kind of looks out for the city, but he also kind of focuses where he lives. And it's kind of like, I don't need to go farther than that, because your knowledge of what a typical hero book kind of fills in the blanks about that. I just have to make sure that the story I'm doing, it feels fresher, but I'm also kind of like, I don't want to hold somebody's hand, because I never liked that. I didn't like having my hand held.
No,
because I'm with like what you guys were talking about. If I found a book I liked, I'll go back and I'll learn every little bit of details, because that's half the fun of comics, is hitting those back issue bins or collections or whatever. So that's how I approach the book too. I approach the idea that guys that are reading my books have been reading comics for a while.
Yeah.
And also, so they have a built-in knowledge of what I'm doing, but it doesn't hurt to throw something in there to make the issue approachable. You don't want to, you again, as soon as you do a new number one, you've got a whole lot of things going on anyway. So, Marvel restarting their books every, year or so for a brand new number one, but they're basically just continue on the last series. They're confusing to people. It's like, okay, well, why is this a new number one? So, when you're like what I did, I had an issue 5 and I had to say, okay, I'm not going to necessarily fill in the blanks between issue 4 and issue 5, because 4 had a definite end. Yeah. But I also want to remind you about, the brass tacks of what you need to do to enjoy my stories.
Yeah. And I think so many comics now are like, they're in the tell part instead of the show part, and all I want to do is press the skip intro button.
Exactly. Yes. That's a good point. That's a great way of saying that, because I mean, if you want to spend 3 pages, catching up with somebody saying, well, this happened and I'm better for it and whatever, you're missing 3 pages. You could do something brand new.
Yeah.
You can get in there, and I mean, it's so storytelling is so easy, because either by caption, by visual, by just theme of the book, you can catch somebody up.
Yeah. And if you're catching somebody up, but it's your characters are having dinner or they're standing around in a room just chatting, it's like you failed as a comic book creator. That is, as far as I'm concerned. If you're giving me exposition and it's like a party I don't want to belong to, where people are just standing around, I'm out, because it's not comics.
No.
The one thing, of course, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. You should be able to have your characters moving and doing stuff while they're dropping all that information.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here is the, what's funny is, here's my golden rule of doing comics, and it doesn't come from anybody in comics. It comes from Elmore Leonard. Elmore said, I don't write what people skim over. I don't, those are the parts that I don't write.
Right.
And it's tongue in cheek, but when you hear those words, you're thinking about that. Yeah. A comic has so many pages, and it's visual, it's written. There are so many ways of telling the story. And so it's like you said, I'm not going to, unless them having a dinner gets me someplace.
Right.
I'm not going to write that, because I would skim over that. And I could do something so much more interesting to get to that point.
Yes.
Without having to do that. But like I said, that is my golden rule. I mean, if a page that I've got in my head is something I think I would skim over, I go back to the drawing board and I try to figure out how to approach what I need to say in a different way.
Right.
But I think that's one of the reasons that like Stan and Jack did such a great job with the X-Men, for instance, is that the X-Men didn't just sit around and have breakfast. They had the danger room, right?
Yeah.
So when they weren't on an adventure, when they weren't out doing something, they were in the danger room practicing. So that did a lot of things for us, right? Number one, it let us see the X-Men using their powers, so that we could see, what it was that they would do. And they could actually explain them in the danger room in not a way that was kind of beating you over the head with it, because they're practicing their powers, right? And it's a way to explain that to us, right? But you also got to see the interpersonal relationships, right? You got to see the way they interacted one with another, what their thoughts were, and that kind of thing. And so, we had those moments in the X-Men before they went out they didn't sit around and eat breakfast.
No.
Right. Oh no! Look, Wolverine's eating the bagel again.
And that crazy Wolverine! He's put his claw through the hole in the center.
Right.
Oh, what wackiness!
Wolverine! You need to add fiber to your breakfast, Wolverine.
Yeah, I mean the way Claremont would approach a lot of those scenes were great, because you had all, Claremont, when he got into the book, I mean, he did a lot of interpersonal, more so than Stan and Jackie would have thought about doing.
Yeah.
But he would use that danger room.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you would have Kitty maybe in the middle of a thought that she's insecure about what Colossus thinks about her. But while she's giving you that caption, Colossus is beating up a hologram of a Sentinel. Right. And you're getting all these cool panels of all this action. But she's giving you, or Claremont's giving you, that Kitty's insecure about how Peter feels about her.
And she's telling you something that you don't see. Right?
Exactly.
She's not saying, "Oh, look at Colossus beat up that Sentinel." She's telling you stuff you can't see.
Exactly.
Because the great thing about what Claremont did is I'd want to say he stole the technique, but he's influenced in this technique from the ABC soap operas that were on TV on the afternoons. All My Children, General Hospital, One Life to Live, all that stuff. But what he did is he recognized that on the soap opera, they can all stand around those cardboard sets and just chat. But I've got my heroes dressed up in capes, and boots and leather stuff, and they're going to have to fight and make it visual. And that's why the Danger Room, combined with General Hospital or One Life to Live or whatever, is such a great way to get this stuff done.
Yeah, absolutely. Hyper shows up, guys. He says, a Sunday night comic book party. What is up, Hyper? Good to see you as always. And then he says, like and subscribe, kids. I'm going to read these out of order because he says, follow Mike and Roland on Twitter. Follow Tom to his house and ask about Ice Cream Soldier.
Ice Cream Soldier was great, but he was no Little Sure Shot.
And then he gives the links to find me and Mike on Twitter. Good to see you here, Hyper. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. So one of the things you talked about writing all the stuff that. So here's a question for you more. So you talk about Elmore Leonard saying he writes the stuff that people don't skip, or he doesn't write the stuff that they skip, right? So captions have particularly for non-comic readers, have a tendency to have readers skip those because they look like information, right? Now, we have gone as an industry as a whole. I'm not saying us individually. We have gone from an industry as a whole to not writing thought bubbles and putting all those thoughts into captions.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that's the smartest thing to do as an industry as a whole, because so many readers skip captions. They don't read them because they think they're not important.
And they're two different animals too. That's the other problem. I mean, I use thought balloons because there's a reason for it. I think a lot of people think that captions are a replacement of, I think you had Frank Miller with Dark Knight and Year One making, captions cool, these dark, driven inner monologues of the character and whatever.
And they were cool.
And, they were. I mean, it gave you a sense of very noir feeling, but I think it got people confused that thought balloons and captions were the same thing.
Yeah, interchangeable.
Because captions can be descriptive, but but a thought balloon is personal. Because you're actually getting the guy's thoughts opposed to maybe his sentiment. Because with the captions being, when you unroll the captions, they're very deliberate. Even if it's the guy's voice, it's very deliberate. You don't really see, he's almost like narrating it from home, like he's thinking about it.
Right.
Yes.
But if you've got a thought balloon, the proper way of using a thought balloon is, what is this guy saying silently? He doesn't want anybody, or he wouldn't talk to himself. I mean, you're thinking of, oh, I bet, oh my gosh, I forgot about, and then you can lead it off to something else. You can't do that in the caption because it doesn't read right.
No, it doesn't.
And that's the thing about not reading right is the thought balloon that has the little bubbles, they go directly to a character.
Yes.
Exactly.
So it's like a word balloon, but it points directly to the character, as if it's coming from their brain. Whereas the caption is just sort of set off from the character, doesn't point to anything. And it's like, it feels more like fiction narration from a detective novel than it does the actual thought balloon. And so that's why, and Roland will confirm this, but because I write stupid stuff, I tend to use thought balloons.
I would use the term silly.
And then, silly stuff. And then I use my captions to add additional jokes. So my captions are not about time and place and inner thoughts. My captions are more my comment on what the thing is I just wrote. so that I can work in an additional joke. And so I don't want to have captions as inner thoughts, because those are my thoughts.
And also, let's man the mask. I don't do inner caption thoughts. I do thought balloons. The captions are, I do classic comic third person. Somebody else is narrating it. Somebody is, giving you those blanks. So if I want to give you somebody's inner thoughts, and typically I only give you Tommy's, because I try not to get into anybody else's head.
Right.
Because you're Tommy is the hero. Tommy is the guy you're buying the book for.
He's the title.
Yeah,
he's
the title. It works. So that's how I keep from navigating into making people confused that the captions are his thoughts. It's, it really, like I said, it's a classic comic of a third person narrator giving you in between things that Tommy wouldn't think, the villain wouldn't think, but you need as a reader to kind of grab.
Yeah.
But like I said, when it comes to inner thoughts, I give you thought balloons. I give you Tommy's inner thoughts about, I'm going to screw this up, or I better get there quick, or what was I thinking? Just things that help his personality along. But like I said, the captions, I leave it as kind of a classic trope of comics, which is, like I said, third person narration.
Well, I think you also use them to reveal character. Like, because here's how he's thinking, here's what his plan is, and then you know what kind of character he is, because that's and you can decide later if his plan was good or bad based on whatever happens, but you can see his thought process as he talked himself through it.
Exactly.
And so I think that is a great way to reveal character without beating the audience over the head.
Yeah.
Well, so one of the things we talked about, a little bit earlier was comic being someone's first issue. Do you think it's fair to say that probably our audience, because we're small press, we're independent comics, would you think it might be fair to say that the overwhelming majority of our readers are experienced comic book readers, I should say?
I would think most indie comics are, because again, they're savvy to cons, they're savvy to Kickstarters, they're
ours specifically, right?
Yeah,
what we do, yeah. Tom, you look like you're not sure you agree with that.
Well, I'm just trying to think of, because some people you meet at conventions, you've talked about before, that's their first comic, and so, but I think in general, as a general statement, yes, I think indie comic readers are familiar with comics beforehand and understand the language of it, and they tend to be looking for something new.
Yes, yeah.
From their regular pile, and I think you can say that, I've had somebody pick up a comic who's never read comics before, but I think that's anecdotal. That's rare.
Right. Yeah.
And I think most people come to indie comics with a knowledge of comics. And I think, well, again, I'm different. I have complete disrespect for my audience in terms of holding them by the hand. It's like, this is the comic I'm writing. These are basically dinosaurs with guns. 1, 2, 3, let's go. And I don't have to bring you up. I don't have to bring you up to speed. You jump right in, and you're either with me or you're not. But I'm not going to carry anybody. And I think about the audience in terms of, will they like the story? Will they like the jokes? Will they think it's a fun comic? But I don't think about them in terms of, I got to make sure that I've crossed every T and dotted every I so that they understand everything.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I typically, the more conversations I have anybody at con, where do I start? So they already know the idea of what the comic is. Just, okay, you got this rack over here. Where can I pick up the first issue so I can see if I like it? And then you just say, here you go. That's it. So
yeah. David is the Flash says, I think the collections and the new way of consuming media, binging, has changed the idea that this is someone's first book, as opposed when you had to wait 30 days for every title.
Yes, that's a better way of saying what I was trying to say with too many words.
No, I think that's right, though. I think that you guys probably do too. I talk to folks at conventions sometimes that will say, I'll wait for the trade. I'm not going to buy this issue here. I'll wait for the trade. Or if they see your comics, they'll say, hey, do you have the trade?
Which is funny, because I would never tell a creator I'd wait for the trade. I mean, even if I will, I just won't say it to their face, because I think that's kind of rude. It's like,
it is.
I'll wait and see if you make it, and then I'll come aboard. And it's like, no. But when I do pick up the trade, I want to make sure I pick up the first trade.
Yeah.
Like, is this the first one?
Do you mean the first printing or the first
No, I
volume?
don't care about the printing. I mean, just is this volume one? Is this where everything begins? Whether it's the first issue of a comic book or the first trade collection, I want to start at the beginning if I can. If not, I'm happy to pick up the third volume. It's not that big a deal, because usually the way indie comics are done now is it's a complete story anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And if I can't get the first one at the table, then I can get it off Amazon.
Right. Right. Yeah. So much truth in that. Yeah. I think because again, I hear a lot of my students say that as well, is that it's they binge the TV shows, right? And where you can think of the classic shows that we used to watch. It's like, oh, I had to wait a week until the next episode.
A week. Oh my God. Old times.
I know, right? Until the next episode came out. But it's not unusual, particularly on weekends. BJ and I'll sit down and watch a show, and then we'll look at each other like, you want to watch the next episode? Especially if there's, a cliffhanger or something. It's like, you want to watch the next one? Yeah, let's go ahead and watch the next one.
And the thing is, like, when you read, like, I've been rereading some of the old Kirby DC stuff, that you can tell they were written to be 30 days apart for people who might not get every issue.
Yeah.
Because the characters reintroduce themselves.
Yeah.
I, Beautiful Dreamer, or I, Calabac, or I, whatever. And they're constantly reintroducing themselves, which is great in a 30-day comic.
30-day, yeah.
It's not so. I mean, you have to sort of make allowances for it if you're reading in a trade, because then it really becomes silly. But they don't write comics that way anymore. Thank goodness.
No.
But
and I do think, like you said, I think that you have to understand when you're reading those older collections that this is the way this was written. It was written for these every 30-day releases or once a month release, and when they repeat stuff, it's not because you just read it. It's because there was 30 days in between it.
Right. And you were probably reading 6 or 8 or 10 other comics.
Yep.
In addition to going to school. In addition to doing chores around the house. In addition to reading other books.
Yep.
You might have forgotten.
Yeah. David as Flash says Marvel's new numbering will confuse you on what's the first trade. Yeah, I can't answer.
Well, that's where I usually rely on somebody I know.
Yeah. And
it's like, okay, the great thing about social media, one of the 3 great things about social media, is that you can ask somebody.
Right.
There's 40 million Spider-Man books out now. Where can I start? And somebody will tell you.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's what I think is great about the internet, is you can ask somebody directly.
Oh yeah, there's some kind of reference someplace, but I think about, in the 80s, if I wanted to get into Daredevil, there was 1 series. I think if you wanted to get into Daredevil right now, I think there's probably 20.
Right.
Yeah. So you got to figure out what number 1 and what year was it, and what exactly, because it's when you look at places when you're trying to fill in some blanks or whatever. Nowadays, it's ridiculous how many new series of just it used to be easy. Again, when I started Superman, there was the first series that ended in 85, and then there was the Burn in 86. That was it. And now there's been 6 or 7 new number 1s of Superman. And it's just like, where do you start?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's the hazard of having a long industry that's been around a long time with an aging fan base and diminishing returns on their sales. And it's like I know that we're all critical of the way they're trying to solve the problem, but I don't see other ways to solve the problem where they would take that risk.
We're critical of it, but we kind of understand why they're doing it.
Right. I mean,
yes.
And I like to think that if I was in charge, although nobody would ever put me in charge, that if I was in charge, I would do something different.
Yeah.
But I think we've all been in businesses where they're not going to let you do something different.
Right.
No.
And so it's...
we don't do it that way. Give us a new number 1.
It's like, look, you got to make your numbers, or I'm going to write you up. So I got...
hey, look at this.
Yeah, and the number 1 isn't always the racket. The racket is the 30 variant covers.
Oh my gosh!
For the new number 1, the variant that you have to order 40 copies before you get, and then you got to order this much to get this variant.
Yeah,
that's the racket.
Yeah, I agree. Thomas Flormonti, we got a Flormonti flyby. He says, howdy, y'all. Sorry I missed the show tonight. We miss you, Tommy. Buddy says, happy birthday, Renee. Tommy,
Happy
we're
birthday,
not going to
Renee.
sing to her because I think she would be she'd be more thankful that we don't sing, but please let her know that we all said happy birthday. And Renee, if you're listening, happy birthday. David is a Flash said, oh, here's a question. Here we go. He goes, with Malibu Comics, how did you treat the comics for a new introductory reader?
So in the early days of Malibu Comics, if you're talking about the creator-owned, there's two different Malibu Comics. There's the Malibu Comics where there's creator-owned stuff,
right?
And there's a clear demarcation where there's corporate-owned comics, which are the Ultraverse. And so in the creator-owned comics, we did not address those issues because it's a 4-issue miniseries, and they came out every month, and you're either in or you're out.
Right.
And we're not going to re-explain it. And I didn't insist on creators re-explaining their comic with subsequent issues.
Right.
We're just going to roll right through it. And then with the Ultraverse rolling.
Yeah, when the Ultraverse came around, we did kind of take that, hey, we're going to get new readers. We're going to get first issue readers. So we want some of that. Every issue is is somebody's first issue, because that's what we wanted. We very much had that whole Marvel 80s mentality, I think.
Yes.
This is what we're trying to do. Heck, I remember one of the Ultraverse commercials. This is not an exact quote, but something like, you weren't there when they created Superman. You weren't there when they created that Spider-Man, but you can be there for the the beginning of the Ultraverse.
Right. And we were making a hard pitch for new readers.
Yes.
And so Chris Allman and I talk about this, and Dave Ulrich too, about this. We didn't know this at the time, but we know it now, which is when you're doing something like the Ultraverse, you really want to do it in a small step, which is it's familiar, but it's not so radical that people are like, ooh,
right,
what are you doing? And so because if you try to do too much, it's like they're gone. And so you really want to say, it's basically, if you like Marvel and DC, but you're kind of looking for something new, this is it. This is like 8% away from that.
Yeah.
And so,
and we were all Marvel DC fans anyway.
Yeah.
Certainly at the time we were, right?
Yeah.
We were all Marvel DC fans.
And it never came from I've seen other creators are like, well, I hate what Marvel and DC are doing, so this is my statement against that. It's like, no. We grew up reading Marvel and DC comics. This is going to be, since we can't be in charge of Marvel and DC comics, this is what we're going to do.
If I can't do Batman, doggone it, I'm going to do Nightman.
That's right. And
it was easy for you guys to get new readers because it was easier for somebody to track down what they missed.
Yeah.
I mean, if they picked up the 4th issue of Mantra, more than likely they could pick up the first 3 in the same shop they were going to, because you guys were so new. It was easy to do.
Yeah, there wasn't a 300 issue backstock that you had to worry about, and there wasn't a 1,000 issue backstory that you had to figure out.
Yeah.
And it's really simple. There's an accident, people got superpowers, 1, 2, 3, go.
Right.
Yeah. And that's it. You can shade that in variations on the different comics, but that's basically it. And so there's not this huge thing. Again, because Marvel and DC were sort of building their universe after the fact with stuff that pre-existed, and they're trying to stitch it together. Yeah. And we had the luxury of, we'll just start from scratch.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever heard it put that way, Tom, but I like that. There was an accent. People got superpowers. 1, 2, 3, go.
I don't think you have to put weight. I don't think you need to put too much thought into this, because it's not. And I think a lot of people lose their way. The origin is not important.
No.
The origin is only important if it's important to the character.
Yeah. Right.
And most people just want to say, okay, I get it. Denny Colt was killed and now he's back and now he's called the Spirit and he fights crime. 1, 2, 3,
go.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's part of it. Look, if I'm buying a comic book, I'm already telling you by putting down my money that I have a willing suspension of disbelief.
Yes.
Right. I'm paying you money and I'm telling you I'm willing to believe a man can fly.
I'm yours to lose.
That's right. And so you don't have to go all detailed and all the chemicals mixed together in a lab and exploded. And look, now he can run fast.
I've heard people at Comic Cons try to pitch me their comic, and it's so convoluted. It's every detail. There's nothing left in the gutters. There's nothing left between the panels. They're
Right.
telling me everything. It's like, stop. Don't tell me that. Just say he got hit by lightning. He's got superpowers. These guys are trying to kill him. And look in the art. Great. I'm in. Here's my $5.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, stupid.
That's
yes,
right.
Don't oversell me, because also if you're telling everybody who comes by your booth that same story, you're going to be tired by like an hour or two or whatever.
Yeah.
Just give me the pitch. I don't need the details.
Right. Oh, I love this comment from Hyper. Hyper Potato says, I used to see interviews with creators saying, this is my love letter to the Silver Age. Now the interviews say, I hate fill in the blank, so I did this.
The thing is, I'm already out, because if you're creating based on hate,
Yeah.
that's
I'm
not
done.
no.
Yeah.
Tell me that if you tell me that, I love this is the way I read Mike's comic, for better or worse. He can criticize me for it, but it's like, if you tell me this is a comic book for people that like Justified and like the spirit, then that's all I need to know.
Yep.
I'll give Mike $5 every day.
Yeah.
For every issue he's got, because he has sold me.
Yeah.
Guy in a mask does good. That's my sell point.
Right.
Yeah.
Guy in a mask does good.
He's good.
Yeah.
Well, and you guys know this. It's no secret. When people tell me, hey, I see a little bit of the old Beast from the Eagle Hearts Avengers in Demon, I'm like, you're
Thank
absolutely
you.
right. Thank you.
But which Beast? It's like the good, funny Beast.
Yes.
Yes.
The one I think it's Len Wein and Tom Sutton and
Perez, during the Perez years, I thought that he had a good Beast.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like good, funny Beast. It's not like, oh man, I really hate what they did to the Beast, so I'm doing it better. It's like, no.
I love what they did. I love what they did with the Beast there, and
The Hank McCoy that was living life.
and live life, and as Hyper said, this is my love letter to that.
And that was the great thing about that era of the Beast, because he looked terrible, as a human being. He's not gonna get married, have kids, and live in the suburbs or whatever. And he's sort of disrespected by all the other people around him. And yet he leans into it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like he totally, and he's comfortable in his own furry skin, and he's like, okay, well, this is the hand I was dealt.
That's right.
I'm playing it.
Here
And
we
I
go.
think that's what's great about so many superheroes who come from that place, where it's like, okay, I got struck by lightning. This is me.
It is what it is. I didn't die, so let's go.
And now my arm stretches a mile.
Right.
Okay, I'm all in.
David is Flash says jumpstart. Yeah, that's
right.
Jumpstart.
Everybody, there's an accident. People get superpowers.
Hyper says Tom has a way with words. He should try working in comics. He also says, I believe Little Sure Shot is the best marksman in Easy Company. It's not a suspension of disbelief. It's a fact.
If he's not, then he's got the wrong name.
Right.
Right. Because then he should be Big Bad Shot.
Big Bad Shot. David is the Flash says only Peter Bagg can create based on hate. Yeah.
Right. But those are different kind of alternative comics. Those are the kind of alternative comics where just angry people live in the city and can't have sex. And I think those are different than the kind of indie comics that most of us are creating.
Woody says, "Hey all, what's up, Woody? Thanks for hanging out with us tonight."
Woody.
Yeah. So what talking about what happens in between the panels? What is important as a writer, as a creator, to think about what's happening in between the panels? And we think about what's on in the panels, but do we think about what will the reader, what can I communicate that's in between the panels that they don't need to see? I'll give you an example. I think about, so you guys know we do PG-13 comics here, right? And one of the things that I don't think characters should be sexless. meaning I don't think we should assume superheroes or any of the characters that you're going to have don't have those kinds of relationships. But I don't need to see them, right? I don't need to see this. So one of my favorite things is when, and I tried to do this in when I wrote Silverstorm, is when someone in the chat may remember the exact quote, but Chris Castle was talking to Natasha, and clearly he was ready for some action, and he invited her in, and she says, "I'm not in the habit of going into men's strange men's apartments." And then he says, "Well, give me 10 minutes and I won't be a strange man," and he shuts the door.
Right.
And then we cut right in between the panels. Listen, Tom knows what happened.
Well,
Mike knows what happened, right?
Hey, that's Hitchcock. Yeah, that's Hitchcockian. I mean, Hitchcock didn't show stuff on the screen.
Right.
He left it to your imagination. That's the great thing about our conversation about what's between panels is sometimes what's in the reader's mind, what happens between this point and that point is much more than I could ever write.
Right. And the other thing is, I think, here's what I like about it is that Tom can go, "Ooh, this is," in his mind, "Ooh, this is what they did." Mike can go, "Ooh, this is what they did." And they're different things.
Right. And Roland's like, "Well, they're just playing checkers. It's late night checkers."
Yeah, I was going to say, they're playing Parcheesi. I mean, there's nothing going on.
They're watching Bosch on HBO or whatever.
Yeah.
He's putting on a Civil War cosplay.
That's
Yeah.
right.
What do you think about this, honey?
Sew a hat. I think, but that's the thing is that those things, I think sometimes, for me anyway, the creative part isn't showing that stuff because that exists. The creative part is, well, how can I let the audience know that could be happening, but not actually tell them?
Yes.
And
how can I push them that way without showing them?
Right. And I think that's a great example of, of how to sort of hide it, but also explain it.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that to me is where the fun is. Because in my first draft of the script, I would have probably written it more directly.
Right.
Because I just want to get it down on paper and I just want to have it there. So this is what happens. But then as I work it out into a script form, it's like, well, how can I know the artist I'm working with. I know what he likes to do.
Right.
How can there are certain artists that I've worked with who would be like very sort of overt in terms of the body language and the panel.
Right.
So I don't want to oversell it with the words, but I still want to get it across. And so it becomes a sort of creative dance of how can I get the audience to understand what's going on without holding their hand, without over explaining it, because that gives it away. Because movies and TV don't give it away either necessarily. They do the closed door thing too. And I find that much more, it's refreshing in a sense because I admire the cleverness. Yeah.
Yeah. And what you said there, I think it's, when you can do it as a creator, I think it's more clever if you can communicate that kind of thing to me like that without overtly saying, and boom, this is what they did. They went into the room and, if you can,
and there are certain there are reasons to have them go into the bedroom and show them in the bedroom. And if you watch a lot of crime shows on TV or in movies, usually the second they're about to start something, that's when the killer bursts in. Right. Or that's when the room blows up, or that's when the plot moves forward. And so they don't actually complete the deed because they're now busy. They're in a gunfight, or they're running from assassins or whatever. So you can do it, but you have to figure out ways. How is this going to advance my story?
Right. Or in the case of the Pink Panther, some of my favorite movies, of course.
Kato.
Kato. Kato's going to attack them, right? There's always something. It's for some sort of comedic element that when you're watching, you're just like, okay, what's he going to do now?
Right. Well, and they set that up beautifully because they have it as part of his training, so it's in a non-sexual context where he's just going to surprise him by hiding in the fridge or whatever and busting up, so that by the time he shows up at the right moment, it's like. It's beautiful. It's a little arc for a very minor character.
Yeah, absolutely. David is a Flash says, as a comic creator, plug Mr. Ghost Adventures available on Webtoons. There you go, David. David is Flash. You guys go check out Mr. Ghost Adventures on Webtoons. He says, what happens between the panels is a way to shortcut time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think that modern comics do a lot now is they used to change scenes in the middle of a page, and so captions became more necessary. But now what they're doing, and which is what I like, is the scene transition happens between pages.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where a scene will end at the last panel of one page, and when you turn the page, you're in a new scene at a a different time of day or at the same time or whatever, but we've switched. And so the demarcation of time is in between the page.
Yeah. And I think that's a great observation, Tom, because I can remember older comics. You could look at one page and there would be 3 different scene changes just on one page, and so you had to have those captions that kept you up. But we don't do that anymore. They have a tendency to be one page or the 2 pages. So when you turn the page, you're in a new scene.
And I think that's better because that feels more like movies or TV to me, and it also it's cleaner. Like I know that the bottom of the page, it's making what it's. Howard Chaykin always says the page is real estate.
Yeah.
And so it's what you can tell in that page, and so visually and verbally, I want the page to be its own thing. I don't want to have half pages of stuff.
No.
Yeah.
I don't like telling stories that way.
It's too confusing.
We need to get him back on here and talk about storytelling, don't we?
He's got I was trying to remember. He's got a series of videos on YouTube.
Really?
Where he talks about his breakdown of how he works, how he sees the page, and how one of the things I don't like about Webtoons is it's great for storytelling when you're scrolling up in the little film strip squares or whatever.
Right.
That's fine. But I like the page.
Yeah, me too.
I like seeing the page as a full thing where the artist has really sort of, the art and the lettering and the word balloons and the panels are all, they're guiding me around in that some variation of the Z
pattern. Mm-hmm.
Which, and we've all been there where we see an artist do that and we're just like, damn.
Right.
I will stop a story that I love and just sit there and look at the page. And then when I finish the comic, I'll go back to that page
and look at that page again, just to look at the art.
Yeah. Because and I think you lose that with Webtoons. You lose that with that format of turning the page and just being wowed by either the Kirby double page spread or the American flag. It's when I read American Flag as a kid, it's like I didn't know you could do this in comics.
Right.
He was breaking panel borders. He was having the lettering come across as part of as part of a sound effect.
Right.
It's just dynamite. Yeah. So he's got three things that up on 3 videos that are up on YouTube.
Oh,
talk about his approach.
I'll have to look those up. Well, so your mention of that's a question for you. So when you've got 2 panels, right, side by side, but you have a sound effect that goes across both panels, what does that do for the gutter there? Well, then
I'm assuming that. Well, then I have to figure out what I've done with the 2 panels.
You're right.
Because if the sound effect of the gunfire is going to go across the 2 panels,
it's the same amount of time.
Right. I'm in the exact, each panel is the same, it's happening simultaneously. Yeah. So what am I looking at? And usually what I would do is I would break up, instead of having one long panel, I would probably break that up into 3 panels with 3 different reactions in that scene to the gunfire.
Yeah. But
I don't know what my story is yet. So I'm just, that's off the top of my head.
I was gonna say that it's kind of hard to envision because I'm like, same moment. That's not what I would think. I would think it's split second, right? Not the same moment, but it's this one. Then in a split second's the next panel.
I would
need to see the panels.
I would say 3 panels, and it's multiple characters in a room, gunfire across the top of the border, and then each panel underneath are different characters in the room reacting to being shot,
or trying
to avoid getting shot. And so that I would, but again, I don't know what my story is. So maybe I'm just
Well,
You know
I
what I
just
mean?
when you said sound effect across the panels, it made me think. Okay, well, we're talking about what's happening in the gutter, so that breaks the gutter, right?
Yes.
It overlaps the gutter, so to speak. So what does that do to our gutter?
I think that's more for the reader's eye, because you want to see, instead of having the reader just scan an entire panel, I would
Yeah.
break it up into 3 so the reader would spend a split second longer on each individual panel.
Well, all right. So, I think we haven't talked about this at all. And I think it's funny that you say that, because I do think that there are things that we do in comics purely for the reader's eye, right?
Yes.
So we might look at something and go, well, I don't really need a balloon right there, but I want that balloon right there because it's going to make the reader go this way, right?
Yeah.
Going to pull the reader in this direction.
Yes. And also, but I think one of the ways that we used to work in Malibu, you and I did, is that I would go back and fix my writing after the art.
Yeah.
And so, because the artists that I worked with would always add in some goofy stuff with my permission, because I did whatever makes it better. And so then sometimes maybe the dialogue doesn't work, and I would have the luxury, because I'm in the office and you're next to me.
Yeah. Or you'd come up with a new joke.
Right. It's a new joke. Because I remember I was working with a veteran artist whose name will not be mentioned, but he drew with the wrong character.
Oh, I remember that.
and Roland shows me the art and goes, this is supposed to be character A, and he drew character B, and we could send it back to him and say,
what do we do?
You got it wrong. I was like, nah, screw it. I'll just write a new joke, and I'll pretend I'll just flop the characters out. No big deal. Yeah. And so I think it's the beauty of working some variation of Marvel style, where you can have a final look at stuff before it goes.
Yeah. And that's the advantage disadvantage I think that certainly independent comics have over the corporate comics, is that they're done in such an assembly line process, right? That once it's lettered, it doesn't go back to the writer doesn't have an opportunity to see it. It goes straight to the editor, and then they just churn it out, right? But like you said, you were in the office, so as soon as I got it, you were seeing it.
Yeah, and I think that's. But we were still working on an assembly line process. Yeah. It's just that I was, we're still making chocolate bars. I'm just I just get to check the wrapper before it goes out. And I think it's my one beef, I think, with corporate comics, which is that's almost too much of an assembly line. Yeah. Where there's not necessarily that, I don't know what you would call it, but you don't have that person involved in the creative process who takes the last look. Like you're relying on the editors, but the editor has to get a certain number of books out as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And and I don't know I know, Roland, you send me stuff to proofread at the last minute, just as a last check. And I think that's really helpful. I think it's like, okay, I know from my own experience, I've got like 6 people that I can rely on. And at any time, 3 of them are going to be too busy for me, but 3 of them will not be. And it's like, okay, I've been living with this in my head for a long time. Right. Could you just look at this?
Yeah.
Proof it. And or even just read it. See if it makes any sense.
Right.
And so I think I think some of that is missing in modern corporate comics, because they're just moving at quite a clip.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
they're just keeping the IP alive. I mean, the finesse isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and I think, that's one of the things that we did at Malibu as well. We had, as the editor, I don't see it as much as you do as the writer, right? I mean, because you're involved with it day to day. I only see it when, okay, Roland, I'm done here. It's yours, right? And then I get to see it and go through it. My assistant Gerald gets to go through it, right? So we are seeing it. So we had people at Malibu that proofread for us. That's all they did.
And we also had the people in the coloring department who were coloring the books. They were in the office, so they were reading it as well.
Yeah, while they colored.
While they're coloring it, and it just you had this whole group of people that are sort of, they're not necessarily directly supposed to, but as part of just being there.
Yep.
Through osmosis or whatever, you soak it up, whatever we're doing.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it wasn't unusual that a colorist would come to me and said, "Is that word misspelled?"
Right.
Oh crap! Yes, it is. Yeah, I got to fix that.
And also the great thing about that is they could walk to you and, is this supposed to be a glove?
Right? Yeah.
So
and that happened probably once a day.
yeah, it's like,
What's this thing behind his legs here?
Right. He had sunglasses on the previous panel.
Yeah, I can't tell what that thing behind his legs is. What is that? And of course, I'd look at it and I'm like, I don't really know what that is.
We're going to need a meeting.
What's this? Yeah, we're going to have a meeting. They're trying to figure out what it is. Yeah, we had one of those instances here on our stream a couple years ago. Mike, you probably remember this. Tommy was inking something live that Pete had done, and Pete was like, "What are you doing?" Tommy's like, "I'm inking this thing." He goes, "Well, but that's that." And I can't remember what it was. He goes, "That's this," and he goes, "Oh, it is." He didn't know what it was, so he had to change what he was doing in the inking because he didn't know what it was. So he was just inking the lines there.
Yeah, but that was the benefit of everybody being there.
Yeah,
my favorite one is still though when Pete said, "Hey, I messed up on that hand. Can you fix that thumb?" And Tommy says, "Well, what do you want me to do with it?" He goes, "Make it look like a thumb." And Tommy says, "I don't know what you mean." Pete literally took a picture of his thumb and sent it to Tommy.
Well, now you just scan that into AI and just say, "AI, fix that thumb."
Oh no. Yeah. All righty here. Yeah, so what happens in between the panels, I'm not gonna say, and if I did, you guys would tell me I'm wrong, as important as what happens on the panels, but I think it's important to consider when you're telling the story, what is happening in between the panels, so you can communicate that to your reader and still keep that story, moving forward in a way so that they don't get bored and you don't have to tell them every single little, they don't have to put on the coat, grab the keys, crank the car. they don't have to do all that.
Well, we all know that when Peter Parker left Aunt May's house to go to school, we didn't really care about that. We just wanted to see him go to the Daily Bugle. That's all. So that in between time, we know he went to school. That's all we need to know. I want to see J. Jonah yelling at him. I want something set up for Spider-Man, but in between, we know he had a day. He had a day like we all had.
Yep. Day 100%. Like any other day.
Yeah,
that's right. All right. So, anything else, you guys?
I think we filled in the panels beautifully.
I think we did. Yes.
I think we did too. Any upcoming anything happening in the next week? You guys, people need to go see.
I've got a con next week.
Oh,
where are you going?
In town, 10 minutes away. At Richmond and Comic and Toy Show, the Saturday and Sunday, October 4th and 5th.
So will you still be here Sunday?
I'm 10 minutes away. I can't imagine. It's not going to keep me. So I can't imagine. But if I do,
tired from all that driving.
It'll take a while. I may have to recover. So
I'll be at New York Comic-Con on Thursday, October 9th.
Cool.
Okay. All right. So it's in 2 weeks, right?
I'll be wandering around free range.
Are you going to be there for all 4 days?
No, I only show up for Thursday because Thursday is I don't really have any meetings or things to do. I'm just hanging out. I'm going to meet a bunch of people for lunch or dinner, and I'm mostly there because I love the show and I want to see. I find stuff at the New York show that I don't find at the San Diego show.
Yeah.
There's certain creators that I don't see normally in San Diego, and there's certain
they don't go out west
in San Diego, and so it's good to sort of see what the other coast is doing.
Yeah,
you're going to have to meet up with Jose because didn't Jose say him and his wife were going for just a visit?
Oh,
I thought they said that.
I don't know.
I'll talk to Jose in the chat.
Yeah.
See what he's up to.
Yeah, I don't know if he said that or not. I'm not real sure. I know there'll probably be a handful of enough people there that we know that you can see. So
yeah.
Okay then. So on Tuesday, how to learn from reading comics. At Silverline Show on Tuesday, the crew discusses how to think critically about the comics you read, how to break apart dialogue and pacing. How do you study art on the cover and in the pages? That is on Tuesday. Wednesday.
That's too deep for me.
That's pretty deep.
It's a deep dive.
Wednesday, they don't have anything down here yet. So
I'll be talking comics though.
Yeah, they'll be talking something geeky and something comics. On next week, we have our special guest, a guy we've been inviting for probably 5 years now, since we started this. Stephen Butler. You've heard us name drop, and if you're a fan of comics, his name is familiar to you. We're happy to let you know that Stephen Butler will be a guest on our show next week. We're going to ask him his origin and all kinds of other things, what he has done since he did the Badger, a long time ago. So bring your questions for him. What's that?
And Spider-Man.
And Spider-Man and Silver Sable and Archie. Stephen has a long resume of comics that he has worked on. I'm always encouraging, and he knows this, I'm always encouraging to keep doing his own, his creator-owned stuff. But he's got his hands in so many different projects.
He was also the official designer for the Spider Prime mashup character between Marvel and Malibu Comics.
That's right. I forgot about that.
I have copies of his original sketches.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I should share them when I show up on
You
Sunday.
should. Yeah. Be sure that
I'll send them over to you because you're the better sharer.
Okay. Yeah. Send them to me and I'll share them. He'll probably go, well, I don't remember that. Or no, he'll probably say, I do remember that because it's Spider Prime. He wouldn't.
Spider Prime. And Spider Prime is a part of the Spider-Man universe. He has appeared in the background of some comics.
Cool.
Really? At Marvel?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Usually, there's some guys in the Ultraverse Facebook group, and they've shown where when they put a group of all the different Spider-Man characters, coming at you or whatever,
right?
Spider Prime is usually hidden away in the background.
Really? Wouldn't it be cool if he was in the Spider-Verse stuff too?
I keep looking.
Yeah,
I'm there, freeze framing everything. Come on.
Spider Prime, come on, Spider Prime.
But they put the pig in there.
They did, yeah.
But
I saw that.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, those are pretty good shows. The Spider-Verse.
I love those two movies.
Yeah, I'm not a big multiverse person, but those shows are pretty good. I like those movies. Yeah. All right. Go back to campaign. Silverline Comics crowdfunder.com. You've only got 2 days to get this cover. Go back it. You can also pick up a bunch of back issues. But until next week. Remember to make mine Silverline. Good night, everyone.
Hi, I'm Dave Dorman. Make mine Silverline.